Well, hey, well, we're to the phase on Bucky here where we're gonna start dealing with a lot of rust, and so we need to address that. Rust, rust is horrible. Okay, I absolutely hate it, and that's why anytime I do a project like this, I go through massive steps to not only get rid of it, but try as best as I can to prevent it. But what is rust? I mean, we all know what it is. We all see it, and it doesn't matter where you live, unless you live out in the desert. There's always some type of rust. Oxidization. So oxidization is when the iron that's in your steel or whatever other kind of ferrous metal that you have, because unless I'm missing a metal, I don't think there aren't any other. There are no non-ferrous metals that rust. So, which means if it's magnetic, there's a pretty good chance that it's got iron in it, and iron is what is prone to the oxidization process. Now, I'm not trying to get all sciencey and technical on you because, quite frankly, I'm not that guy. But rust is formed, or oxidization is formed, through the process of metal getting wet. That's the basic process of it. Now, it can also be accelerated through moisture and other mineral compounds, which again sets up that electromolecular scientific process to cause that oxidization. So the way we combat that is it's a very simple principle. You try to keep the moisture and the minerals or the chemicals that cause that oxidization process, you try to keep them off of the metal. And most of the time we accomplish that by putting paint on it. So what I'm going to go into is I'm going to show you, or explain and show you, my processes to get rid of this. Now, with that being said, before we can get it to the phase where we're ready to paint it, we have to get rid of the old rust, because rust is one of those things where it begets itself. So a little bit of rust will lead to a little bit more rust, which will lead to a whole lot of rust. And then eventually the process will complete itself, and this will turn back into dirt, basically. Now that takes many, 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 many years. If I were to go and take this and set it out in the back 40, maybe in 100 years it would degrade to the point where there's very little resemblance of anything even remotely like this. So how do we get this gross, yucky, flaky stuff off of here? There's all kinds of different methods. I am here showing you how I have found how to do this, or the best methods that I have found to do it. You do your own research and do it your own way. But for me, in my area, this is what I think works best, which I'm going to address in more detail in just a minute, is sandblasting, or some type of media blasting. And like I said, I'm going to go into that in just a minute. But if you have a large piece that maybe you don't have the facility or the tools to do a media blasting type process, such as this frame. As much as I would love to stick this entire frame into my sandblaster, it won't fit unless I get the torch out. Use on these bigger pieces like this, I use two main methods to remove the rust. So, what you can do is you can use this absolute evil tool, but it's highly effective. This is called a needle scaler. It hooks up to your air compressor, your air compressor. And as you can see here, I have all the safety features in place. And it takes all these little needles and it just fires them out in a random pattern. I think this one's capable of doing it 44,000 times, 4,500 times a minute. And you put it on your material and it just, and you go around and it basically pulverizes the scaled rust. So on this cross member here, you see all this flaky rust. See how that's that? It'll just flake right off. And I'll show you here how this works. So this is a little bit different location on the frame here. I picked here because this has got some really nice flaky rust, which will give a really nice demonstration of how exactly this works. So when you use this needle scaler, you want to make sure you got some hearing protection. Hearing, I can't hear what I'm saying, so I don't know. You want hearing protection and eye protection. And if you're doing this for a long time, it probably wouldn't hurt to use your respirator. Well, it won't hurt to use your respirator. And because it puts a lot of dust in the air. But I'm going to show you how this works on this nice little chunk of metal here. It's really flaky. And like I said, it's really noisy. So I'm probably going to mute the microphone while I do it. And I might put some pleasant classical music or something in here. So. swinging nature of the wheel as that needle scaler does. I think the needle scaler does just a little bit better job. Now, this will go faster. So this hands down, if you're looking to quick and dirty this thing, this will get it done quicker. But I think that needle scaler will get it more detailed and does a little bit better job. Now, this has its place as well because sometimes you can use this in places where you can't use that needle scaler and vice versa. But just like with the needle scaler, I'll kind of do a little portion of this so you can see what's going on. And grinder, the angle grinder. This one's a battery operated one. I would not recommend this for large projects. This is, more for, because you're gonna be going through batteries left and right. And usually it's been my experience, these battery grinders aren't really built for heavy duty use. This is a rigid one, which, listen, I'm not a name brand guy. I'm not going to sit there. I know the Milwaukee guys, they're the best, but this is rigid and it's got a lifetime warranty. And I've had to send this one back. This one I've only sent back once to get rebuilt because I wore it out. But and that's why I have rigid tools, is because they got a lifetime warranty on them and you can send them back. So, but that's me. Like I said, I don't care. DeWalt, rigid, Makita, Amazon. I mean, whatever you use is whatever you use. Harbor Freight. This is a needle scaler. This is a I don't know. It's like a McGraw, I think. It's from Harbor Freight. I think it was $40. You can buy replacement needles for it. In fact, this is my second set of needles because these eventually will break. Sandblaster. This is by far my most preferred method of rust removal because it takes this and makes it look like this. And in my opinion, this is the best way because now you can start from the ground up. So the factory, they stamp these out. They might have put them through a washing process or something like that, and then basically just sprayed paint right on it. There's no like prep process. And so okay, so what this is that this is that spring perch. It's not a spring perch, but it's the plate that U-bolts go up into that hold the axle on. And it's just a thick piece of steel that's been stamped in a press. And then, like I said, they shot it with some black spray paint, and then it went right on the vehicle. I don't know for a fact if they did any type of rust preventative or rust treatment or even a primer on those types of components. But when you strip them down, like this, now you can. So what my process is, and I'll go into this in a little bit more detail in another video. So to paint this, I would first use a self-etching primer, which does exactly what it says. It when you spray it on, it etches itself into the physical metal, and then apply a good quality paint to it. But like I said, we'll go into that in more detail. But the sandblaster, if I had it my way, every single component of this vehicle would go into the sandblaster. I don't have those kinds of facilities or that type of equipment. Now, I've got more equipment than most of your average people that are doing this kind of thing. And I'm not telling you need to go out and buy that kind of stuff, but because of all the projects I do and everything that I've, and that's another thing. So keep in mind, guys, if you're just starting out with this kind of stuff, you don't just go out and get all of this crap. I mean, it takes years and years. I'm almost 50 years old, and I've been working literally my entire life to get all the junk that I have laying around. And I call it junk, but it's not. And I really do have a lot of respect for all my tools and things like that. And that's just the way it is. I've never, most people don't have the means and methods that they can, or the means to just go out and buy, $10, $15, $20,000 worth of tools right off the bat. Anyways, that's not what this video is about. This video is about removing rust. So, the sandblaster. Now, this is a sandblasting cabinet that I bought at Harbor Freight probably 20 years ago. It has been through the ringer. I have made modifications. I have worn parts out. But quite frankly, it's held up pretty amazing over the years. Now, basically what a sandblasting cabinet is a box that holds your blasting media, which could be sand or walnut shells or glass beads or you name it, and gives you a method of keeping the dust down because sandblasting creates a ton of dust and not make a mess. So your sandblaster uses compressed air with the nozzle, it shoots the air out and stuff. So it needs a good, consistent supply of air. And so you need a big ass air compressor. There's no other way to. So this one here is actually an upgrade for me. And in a minute, I'll show you my old one. And basically the bigger and better your air compressor, the more efficient your sandblasting is going to be. So this is an Ingersoll Rand. It's model TS4N5. It's an 80-gallon tank. I'm not sure how many horse the motor is, but it's a 2-stage compressor, which means it compresses the cylinder in the compressor, compresses the air once, then the valving shifts it over to another cylinder, which actually compresses it, and it'll be a smaller cylinder. When you're picking an air compressor, you want one. It depends on what you're using it for. If you're using it to fill up tires, you can get away with one of those little tiny ones that you can buy for $50 at Harbor Freight, or even one of the portable battery ones. I got one of those for filling up tires and basketballs and stuff like that. If you're using it for like nailers or stuff like that, that's not using that continuous flow of air, you can get away with like pancake compressors or small gas powered ones. If you're using it for pneumatic tools that are using a constant flow of air, you need something large. And there's a huge difference. And like I said, I'll show you my old one. This was a huge upgrade for me. And you want CFM. You want the most CFM you can possibly do or get. So CFM stands for cubic feet a minute or per minute. So gases are typically measured in a foot by 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 foot. That would be a cubic. It's like I'm doing the safety dance here. Dad jokes. So that means this compressor and this motor and this tank are capable of putting out almost 16 of those cubic feet of air a minute. So there are all kinds of different rust removing methods. These are just what I've shown you in this video is what I have determined over the years and over the projects and stuff like that to being the best, gets me the best results for the means and the skills that I have. So with that being said, there are some other ways that you could approach a project like this. You could take this once it's all stripped down. You could take it to a sandblaster. There's companies that's what they do is they media blast things And I could load this up, take it in, and probably have it back in a week or two, and it would be done. And it'd probably cost me, you know, I don't know, $300 to $500. I have no idea. I could also get it powder coated. I could also take it in and have somebody rebuild all the suspension, you know, so on and so forth. The big problem with that, there's two problems that I can see in having somebody else do it. And I have, for clarification, I have taken things in and had a sandblast. The first problem is I don't get to do it. So there's a certain satisfaction that comes from the completion of a project like this, or a completion of a segment of the project. You know, taking something that looks like this and producing something that looks like this has a certain satisfaction to it. It feeds a need that I have in my being. I don't know what that is. Just makes me feel like I've done something. That's why I'm a tradesman at work. I like creating things. I like solving problems. I like stepping back at the end of the day and going, gosh, I did that. Now I know full well, whether it be sandblasting that particular piece of metal or something I do at work or something like that, I'm not changing the world, but I'm changing my world. And it's keeping the gears up here fairly well lubricated. We're getting in a little philosophy there. So let's turn the corner and get back to rust. But the second problem with taking it to somebody is it costs money. So paying somebody to do something is fine. In fact, go do that if you have the means. But I would rather take the money. So let's say it would cost $500 to go have this sandblasted. I'd rather take that money and put it towards a new sandblasting cabinet, or maybe a new drill. I mean, or something like that, because that's something tangible. That's something I have. I can continue to do stuff with that kind of thing. And don't scrutinize what I'm saying here in that you're throwing money away by having somebody else do something. Skilled labor ain't cheap. And there's a reason for that. It's because you're paying for the experience, the knowledge, and the wisdom that those people have. You should exploit it. I'm not that kind of person, and you're probably not watching this video unless you're of a similar type of personality as me. So anyways, you could do that. You could take this and it would come back and it would look beautiful. You could have it powder coated, you could have it painted and stuff like that. But then again, it's taking some of the soul of the project away from you, in my opinion. So that's why I showed you my means and methods on that. So maybe that'll help you, because listen, I'm not, there's not a lot of skill involved here. You can do this if you're just starting out. Yeah, maybe you don't have a shop that's got heat in it. Maybe you don't have a concrete floor. Maybe you don't have all the jacks and the tools and stuff like that. But you can start somewhere. You can start somewhere. Read a book, watch a YouTube video, talk to a role model or somebody else that you look up to. So you can talk to me, comment on this stuff, ask me questions. I'm not saying that I have the answer, but if I don't have the answer or I can't help you, I'm going to say, hey, I can't help you. You know, you need to maybe look here or something like that. Anyways, you could also take sandpaper to this. You could use a hand wire brush. You can also, so there are a lot of chemical treatments that you can use to treat rust. There's rust converters, there's rust dissolvers, you know, all kinds of stuff like that. Me personally, I have explored quite a few of these products, mainly the converters or the dissolvers. Quite frankly, I haven't been super impressed. Maybe some of that's me. I'm not using the right techniques and stuff. But usually, if you read into those products, you got to take this step anyways. To my knowledge, there's no magical product out there that you can spray on this and it'll get rid of all the flaky, scaled rust and give you a brand new, ready to paint surface. Now, I'm going to touch on this very, very quickly because I am planning on making another video on it when I go to treat this frame. Now, there are products out there that are called rust encapsulators. You can use those too. And in fact, on the Bronco frame, I am going to use one. I am also going to go into that in another video. But be aware, there's a very, very good chance that you're going to have to remove the rust scale anyways in order for those rust encapsulators to work properly. So, that's kind of where I'm going to leave this video for right now. Because I'm probably not going to show a whole lot of me removing this rust. Because that's basically what it boils down to, is me with that needle scaler or the wire brush on the angle grinder, or countless hours of me standing in front of the sandblaster with my book on tape on my earbuds. It's audible. It's not a book on tape. I'm showing my age there. I might montage a little bit of it and stuff like that, but for the most part, it's not very exciting. So, and that's another thing we should talk about concerning a project like this. This is the grind. This is where the work really starts. But that's where I'm going to leave it. It's coming along good. I'm quite pleased. And we got a lot of videos coming up. Thanks for watching.